Beautiful Disaster is unquestionably the centerpiece of the Artistry 3 collection. We pulled out all the stops to come up with an effect that we think you are absolutely going to love. Beautiful Disaster is my personal spin on Expressionist meets Impressionist artwork. The result is a painterly base image covered with more daring elements, including multiple paint drips, a subtle palette knife effect, multiple splatter effects, and additional paint elements that will surprise and delight our digital Photoshop artists. The result is a mess, a beautiful disaster of a painting, and we think you're going to love having this effect and a custom brush set in your toolbox. So let's have a look. So before we begin, two very important notes when using this action. The first is to set your brush tool opacity and flow to 100%. Even though you won't be doing any manual brushing, your brush tool opacity and flow must be set to 100% each, or the action will pop up with several errors. So quickly verify or change your brush opacity and flow by pressing the B key to make the brush tool active, and then adjust the settings in the top bar here if necessary. The other thing to note is that this action is specifically designed for images of a certain size. We recommend image dimensions between 3000 to 6000 pixels along the long edge of your image for the best results. Okay, so let's begin. So the first step is to start with an image that we're going to transform into our painting. Now, with many of our artistry actions, we ask users to make a selection of your main subject. But with Beautiful Disaster, I wanted to make this one as simple as possible to use, so I'm very pleased to say that this is truly a one-click action. Okay, so let's open up Beautiful Disaster in the Actions panel here. Select the action, and click on Play at the bottom of the Actions panel. Now, this action is one of the biggest actions we've ever put together, so depending on the speed and specifications of your computer, this action may actually take a few minutes to complete. Alright, once this dialog pops up, the action has completed the effect. Now you could stop here and be very proud of the art you created, or if you like, there are some optional refinements you can make for the more adventurous Photoshop artists. So let's close the Actions panel out of the way here. Okay, great. Now, if your layer groups are not all collapsed and you're seeing a long list of multiple layers and groups, hold down the Option and Command keys on a Mac or the Alt and Control keys on a PC, and while holding those keys down, click on the top layer group toggle arrow to collapse all groups to make things more tidy and viewable. So our first layer group contains all of the paint and splatter effects. The easiest control over these effects is the ability to simply hide or show them by toggling the layer group visibility on and off. Or we can toggle this group open and look at each individual layer. So in here we have 3 white paint layers here, and we've tried to name these layers with obvious names to make them easier to control. So you can toggle their visibility on or off. You can adjust their opacity, or even adjust their size. So for example, let's adjust the size of this paint element here, and make sure that the layer, this is white paint 3, is active in the layers palette. And then press Command T on a Mac or Control T on a PC to bring up the transform tool. And then you can simply grab one of the corner handles and resize this to your liking. Now you can even click anywhere in the middle of this selection and move it to a new location if that better suits your image, like this maybe. And once you've positioned or resized it the way you like, click on this little check mark up here to apply those changes, and done. And we can do the same thing for each of these white paint elements layers as well, including the white and black splatter layers, which offer the same degree of control. Now you might notice that some of these layers have a layer style applied to them as indicated by this little effects icon here, which can be toggled open to see which layer is being applied, which layer style is being applied. Now I've added these effects to give the splatter a bit more of a 3D type of feel to them, and these styles can be easily adjusted or removed by clicking the visibility icon for the layer style, or by double clicking the layer style and making custom adjustments in the style dialog box here. Now you can have a lot of fun playing with these, so I urge you to zoom in close on your image and take some time to play with these layer styles to see which works best with your artwork. Now under the black splatter layer, we have two layers here to control the color splatter. The visibility of the color splatter is controlled by toggling the visibility of this bottom layer called color splatter, and you can see where that effect is applied by clicking the visibility icon on and off. Now the layer above it is clipped or connected to the color splatter, and this layer allows you to control the saturation of the color splatter. Now you can double click on this little vibrance icon here, and that will allow you to reduce the vibrance or adjust the amount of saturation that these little colored splatter affects. The splatter colors here are being drawn from the original image colors, but it can be handy sometimes to have control over the vibrance of these paint effects. You might want to mute them a little by decreasing the saturation, or really make them pop by cranking up the saturation to 100. Okay, so let's close up this paint and splatter group. And our next group contains all of these drippy effects here. So the obvious control would be over the visibility and the opacity adjustments. And we also have a layer mask on this entire group. So for example, if you wish to remove the drips in just a certain area, you can just press the B key to activate the brush tool. It should be active by default here, and click on the layer mask to make it active. And then you can brush with black as your foreground color in the swatches, where you want to remove or reduce the drip effect. So you can get very specific here depending on how the drips are interacting with your main subject. Now we also have a drop shadow layer style applied to this group to again give these paint drips more of a three-dimensional feel. And this effect can be toggled on and off by clicking the visibility icon of the layer style here, or you can double click it to further adjust the strength and the distance of the drop shadow to your liking. So let's close that up here, okay? And if you would like to go in and explore the individual drip layers, you can toggle this group open to reveal 12 different layers of these drip effects. And they're ordered by the drip size, with the smaller drips being on the upper layers, progressively getting to the longer drips as you move down the layers towards the bottom. So feel free to play with these layers, adjust their opacity, move them around, and just have a lot of fun playing with them. So let me toggle these closed again here. Now, one of the things I love doing with this layer group on many of my images is to actually strengthen the effect by duplicating this entire layer group. So with the layer group active in the layers palette, you can just press Command J on a Mac or Control J on a PC to duplicate the group like this, and that will really strengthen the effect. And if it's too much, you can bring down the opacity of the duplicated group. So let's go with like 50% here. Yeah, for this one. Okay, super. Now our next layer group contains all of the base paint layers, separate from all of the drips and paint splatter effects that we have going on here. So if I toggle this group open, you'll see all of the paint layers that we have going on here to create this final image. And these are organized by level of detail. So this top layer here affects the painting effect on just the small details in the image. And the next layer affects the medium-sized features of the image. This third layer here is a bit more interesting. This paint layer 3 is where we apply a sort of palette knife effect. And if I hold down the Option key on my Mac or the Alt key on a PC and click on the layer visibility icon while holding down that key, we can see the type of effect this layer is having on the painting. So we're really just interested in these shadows here primarily, which creates this sort of knife stroke effect that we're after. Now I've put a layer mask here to randomize the visibility of these strokes, but you can also selectively hide or show them by painting on this layer mask again with your brush, using a black brush to hide the effect, or if you press X to exchange the black and white foreground swatches, and paint with white to reveal more of the effect in certain areas. Or again, like we did before, you can even duplicate this layer to strengthen the effect further. So really just play around here and see what works well with your artwork. Okay, now paint layer 4. This controls subtle paint effects in the overall final image. And paint layer 5 is the base layer upon which we've built all of the above details layers on top of. So now we can close this group. Let's toggle that closed. And you'll see the next group is our paper layer, or background canvas, if you will. However, it's obvious here that the entire image is painted over the canvas. But I've put this layer in here just in case you would like to have your painting appear only in a certain area of the canvas. For example, let's say that we just wanted our subject to be painted with some white space around the main subject here. So what we can do here is click on the Paint and Splatter group to make it active, and hold down the Shift key while clicking the Base Paint Layers group, and then release the mouse button, and you'll see now that all of these layers are selected. Now we're going to press Command G on a Mac or Control G on a PC, and this is going to group all of the paint layers together. Now hold down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC and click on this little Add Layer Mask icon down here, and that will create a black mask which completely hides our painting, and now it's only showing the canvas. It's hiding the painting and just showing the canvas. Now our brush tool should still be selected by default, but if not, hit the B key to make your brush active. Click on the layer mask of this new group and press D on the keyboard to set your brush default foreground swatch to white. And now you can begin painting on the mask where you would like your painted image to appear on the canvas. Now we've built a custom brush to apply this effect, and you can increase or decrease the size of the brush using the square bracket keys as you paint if necessary. So just paint on your mask until you have an edge that you like, and if you make any mistakes or wish to correct your mask, hit X on the keyboard to exchange the swatch color from white to black, and paint with black on your mask to hide those areas of the painting again. And once you have something that you like, here we can leave it at that, which looks pretty awesome. And you can open the paper layer group and double click on this color swatch here and change the canvas color now to your liking. Or you can even go all the way to a black canvas for a really cool look, but I still prefer the white canvas. So yeah, let's go back to that, and I'll leave it at that for this image. And that completes our effect customization. So I would like to thank you very much for checking out our beautiful disaster artistry action. I hope you have a lot of fun creating unique works of art with this action, and I look forward to seeing all of the beautiful creations that you come up with. So I hope you enjoy this action, and once again, happy Photoshopping. Thank you.